Today, we are going to be reviewing the anatomy of the urinary system, the kidney, and the nephron. The urinary system's function is to filter blood and create urine as a waste byproduct. It tries to eliminate the liquid waste called urea and to keep the body's chemicals in balance. The urine that is produced within the body follows a path through the kidneys, the ureters, the bladder, and the urethra. The ureters are two tubes that are made out of smooth muscle and transitional epithelial tissues. The muscle in the walls of the ureters send urine into small spurts to the bladder. The urethra, which is a muscular tube that connects to the bladder with the outside of the body, removes the urine from the body. The renal arteries branch off of the aorta and enter to each kidney. The arteries eventually split into two and then into many smaller arteries to bring blood into the nephrons of the kidneys. The veins carry blood back to the inferior vena cava after being processed by the nephrons. The aorta carries blood to the kidneys, while the veins move blood away from the ureters, which transport urine away from the kidneys to the urinary bladder. Although this is only one kidney, the kidneys are two bean-shaped organs that remove substances from the blood, aid in fluid conservation, and stabilize the chemical composition of the blood. Inside the kidney, there is a renal cortex that provides space for arterioles and venules from the renal arteries, veins, and the glomerular capillaries, which were these little dots. The renal arteries, veins, and glomerular capillaries supplies blood to the nephrons of the kidneys. The renal medulla filters the waste materials and eliminates the fluid from the blood. A medullary extension of the renal cortex in between the renal pyramids is called the renal column, which anchors the cortex. The renal cortex extends into the medulla, dividing into triangular shapes, which are known as the renal pyramids. The apex of the renal pyramid is called the papilla. It is associated with the minor calyx, which collects urine from the pyramid. Several minor calyxes merge to form the major calyxes, which pass urine into the renal pelvis, which later passes into the ureters. The working units of the kidneys are called the nephrons. There are approximately 500,000 nephrons in each kidney, specifically in the renal cortex. The nephron is categorized into two parts. The cortical nephron, which is a short loop. The glomerulus is farther from the cortex medulla junction, and the efferent arteriole supplies peritubular capillaries. And the second part is the juxtamedullary nephron, which has a longer loop. The glomerulus is closer to the cortex medulla junction, and the efferent arteriole supplies the vasa recta. We will focus on the cortical nephron. The glomerulus is a small spherical structure that holds a bunch of glomerular capillaries and is surrounded by the glomerular capsule or the Bowsman capsule. There are afferent arterioles, which brings the blood to glomerulus and is larger in diameter than the efferent arterioles, which carry blood away from the glomerulus. The proximal convoluted tubule lies immediately after the glomerulus and regulates the pH of the filtrate by exchanging hydrogen ion for bicarbonate ions in the filtrate. The nephron loop follows the proximal convoluted tubule and goes into the renal medulla. It is the U-shaped portion of the tubule that conducts urine within each nephron of the kidney. It recovers the water and sodium chloride from the urine. The distal convoluted tubule goes back into the renal cortex after passing through the ascending limb. It reabsorbs calcium, sodium, and chloride and regulates the pH of urine by secreting protons and absorbing bicarbonate. The connecting duct travels back into the renal medulla. The end of the duct exists at the renal papillae and brings the remaining fluid or urine to larger ducts that connect to the renal calyces.